Welcome back. This is Chapter 2. Today we're going to create a simple budget spreadsheet to practice all the things that we learned in Chapter 1. So with that, I've already started the file now, and I have an open spreadsheet here. And we're going to just start putting things in and go from there. So let's just call this our home budget. I got to type, well, and let's just say that in column 2, we're going to call this our budget column. And next to that will be our actuals. And then we'll have our differences. Under and over. Now, we'll start off with income and put in a variety of things. I'm going to type them quickly so you don't have to watch me type every one of them. Now that I've typed in all the titles, I'm going to expand the width of column A by clicking on the line between column A and column B and dragging to give myself plenty of room for the titles to be so they don't crowd. I will put in the budget amounts and speed through this, and I'll be right back. So now that I've got our basic budget amounts in, I want to make some calculations and see how our budget is doing. But before that, I'm going to make it so that it's a little more readable. I can do that by indenting these 3 areas, and I'm selecting the cells by using the arrow keys and then holding the shift key down. And when I hold the shift key down, I can go down arrow and select that many more cells. I want to move these so that they are centered top to bottom and that they are right justified. I'm going to do the same thing, only here I'm going to select by dragging over with my mouse and just clicking the center and right justification buttons up here. So this button here puts things in the center between the top and the bottom. This would put them toward the top, this would put them in the middle, and this puts them at the bottom of the cell. But I like to put them in the middle. And likewise, we can do left justification, center justification, or right justification right there. So that's what these buttons do. So now that we've got it looking a little bit easier, I'm also going to do that with these. I'm going to justify those over there as well. It would be nice if there were some totals here that we can look at. So the way to put a total in, right here, we're going to add up all of these. Now we can do it really simply by just going over here to the auto sum button. The auto sum, click that, and it will automatically grab all the cells above it and create a sum formula. So we just hit return, and the sum of that column are put in right there as the formula. We're going to do the same thing right there for the total expenditures. Just going to hit auto sum. It selects automatically cells above and puts the total in. The budget surplus, we're going to type our own formula in here. we'll start here by entering an equal sign. Now I want to subtract the total expenditures from the total income. So I'm using my arrow keys to move up to the total income, and then all I have to do is hit a minus sign after that and use the arrow keys to move up to that. So now you notice that in the formula, it refers to the total income as B7, and that's because it's in column B, row 7. And it's subtracting from that B20, which is B on row 20. So there's the formula. So there's our calculation. Let's say we wanted to use $1,500 to normal savings, $500 for a vacation fund, and then we want to find out what's left over. So here again, we can put in a formula and put in that what's left over is this minus that minus that. So those cells are highlighted in the color that is shown on the references here. So the blue is B22, the red is B24, and the purple is B25. So there's our formula, and there's our calculation. Simple as that. So now you'll notice that I'm putting in these just dollars, no cents. That's just to make it easier to read. We don't need to have the cents in there right now. Let's type in what the actuals are. I will speed through this and enter them all real quickly so you don't have to listen or watch them. Now that I've entered what the actual expenditures are, I want to see what the totals are. Rather than having to enter the formula again, I can use a trick, which is to use the copy drag box. That's this little square right down here. And when you put your cursor over it, it turns to a plus sign. I'm just going to drag to the right. And what it does is it copies the formula that's in this cell and puts it into this cell using the new references. So if we look at this, it's now looking at the sum of C4 through C6. So it's column 6. Whereas this one was B4 through B6. Likewise, we'll do that down here as well. So as soon as we do the copy, it copies it over. So simple as that. This same holds true for this. We can copy this formula over. Our budget shows us that we've got $2,015 surplus, where we had expected to have $2,125. So we're going to have a little bit of difference down here. Now we want to put in our same amounts. Now, this copy drag box can hold true for numbers as well. So I'm just dragged and copied. And the formula here will work the same way. We've got now only $15 left over. Let's see what each one of the differences are. So we're going to put in a formula here. Again, we type the equal sign. From the budget, we'll subtract the actual. So this means that we're $100 over the budget, which is a good thing on income, to be over your budget. We can just drag down and copy all of those formulas the same way, right on down. They're going to be the same in reference. This brings up a point that when copying things in Excel, you're normally copying the relative reference. Relative reference is saying to somebody, rather than an address, you're sending somebody 3 doors down and turn left and go 2 doors down from there. That's what a relative reference is. It's relative to where you are. This would be B4 minus C4, and this is B5 minus C5. We can copy the same formula here and paste it in here the same way, drag copy down, and we've done all the work ourselves pretty quickly without having to retype things. And we can just copy this formula again to paste in here and continue pasting. So there we go. We've got all the numbers are in there. You'll note that these don't have commas after the thousands mark, so which is something we'd like to have. And we'd also like to have our minus signs stand out more. As an accountant, I'm used to seeing the minus be represented in brackets and red, meaning over. So let's make that format apply here. We can go up to our format area and select, rather than be general, we can drag down to currency. Now it puts in currency of $100, and it puts a dollar sign there. Well, I'm not a fan of having the dollar signs show up in there because it's just too much to read when we know it's in dollars. And we also have our dollars and cents here. I want to move that by getting rid of some of those. So I'm going to click here to move the decimal point over. So I can add to the decimal points by clicking here, or subtract from them by clicking here. But it still has a dollar sign. So let's go and change that number format slightly by picking none as the symbol. We've got the format that we want. No, we don't, actually. So we picked currency. So now that we've got currency, it's got dollars and cents in here, and we don't want to have the dollars and cents. And I would like to not have the dollar sign, and I'd like, as an accountant, I would like to see negatives be represented by in brackets and the color red. So we're going to go in and change that. So we'll go down to more number formats here, and we're going to change it to red with brackets, and we're going to get rid of the dollar sign. And we can also change the decimal places to 0. So that's just, now we have our format. That format, we want to copy that format all the way down here for all the numbers, actually. So in order to make this work for all the numbers, we can copy the format very easily by just clicking here on this format paintbrush. And when we click on the format paintbrush, now we can paint that number format to whatever cells we click on. We want to copy that format and paste it to all those numbers. See how quickly it works. We should also want to have that copied to the other rows, just to make sure we have the same kind of format, because if you see this shows that we have a format of a number. If we click here, it's still formatted as a general. Well, so if we want to have things be consistent so that they show up properly, we want them to be all the same format. So let's just drag over the entire area, copy the format, and paint it across here as well. So now it's got the correct. So all I did was click and paint the format to the other cells. Now we can look at this and see that we've got $100 over. Mom made $100 more than was planned. Dad's pension stayed the same, and the interest income was down by $30. So that gives us an extra $70 this month. Mortgage payment, of course, is pretty easy because it doesn't change. The gas bill went up by $5. Electric bill was down by $15, and so on. So that would be nice to know that this over-under, what does this mean? Well, I would like to have the over be in red format as well. So I'm going to click right here on top of that. Now, it won't show you in the formula box the different font, but it does work in the spreadsheet itself. It would be nice to also have lines underneath the columns where we're going to total. So that's where we can add borders to the cells. I'm going to put an underline above and below this total income. So we go up here to bottom border and top border. If you can see it, we have underline underneath the border, underneath the totals above, and underneath the total. Let's do the same thing for this. Let's put that now we got to put the bottom border in. There we go. So now you can see that it stands out what are totals and what aren't totals. We could actually just copy this the same way and use our format the same way as we have before. So if we wanted to make the same thing apply down here, we can just do that, and it copies the borders as well. Let's also put a border underneath this one here. There, that looks good. Let's make sure that these things are nicely formatted. I want to make these centered over their respective areas. So we're going to center those, center the text. And you can see here that we don't have quite enough room. So what I'm going to do here is I can wrap the text to have it wrapped to two columns or two rows. What that did was that just split the cell right where it decided it needed to split. I'm going to change that a little bit so that it looks better by holding my Option key down after selecting the area, and I can hit return and like put a paragraph mark right there. Under is on top of the word over, which makes a lot of sense. Under being on over the top of over. Okay, well, anyway, you get the point. So now here's where to make these things look right, we want to have them all centered within the cell. So that's what this button does right here, is to center them within the top to bottom of the cell. You'll notice that our format now of numbers, you can see it shows numbers, is now got the commas, and it has the red for negatives, and we've got the underlines. There's our very simple budget for making things print nicely. Let's look at this too. So if we were to try to print this, do a Command P or Control P on a PC, the print window will show that, whoa, we've got lots of room there. What I want to do is I want to change this. I want it to say plus or minus goes to our slush fund instead of left over. So let's type that in. Let's type a plus sign or minus to slush fund. This gave us a value error. Why did it do that? Well, if we look up in the formula bar, we can see that it put an equal sign in front of the plus sign. So it's trying to force this to be a formula. So here's a case where we would use the asterisk to force it to consider that what follows to be text. That's what we want to do. We want to put in, instead of that equal sign, we want to put an asterisk in. You do that and it works just fine. All right. Now, let's make this a little nicer, including having borders around the titles of this. So here we can go up and select borders on each one of the cells. So now if we look at this, there's a border around each one of these. And let's put some color into this. So let's put maybe a light blue there. That looks nice. This title here, the home budget, that needs to be centered over the page. I think it would look better when we tried to print if this was centered over all these four columns. How do we do that? Well, we select the area that we want it to be and hit this merge and center. And what that does is it literally makes cell A, B, C, and D all become one cell, and it's treated that way for formatting and for all formulas. It's always referred to by the very first cell, so this is still cell A1, but in formulas, but for formatting purposes, it helps line up everything. Now, we can also change the font or the size of characters. There's something here that still bothers me, and that is I don't like to see zeros when there's a zero amount. I'd rather see just a dash. So let's change this format here to one that would only show a dash for a zero. So we'll go up here to the number format. We'll pick more number formats. And rather than it be a number that is designed like this, let's go to custom. Now this is what the formula is for this format. And this stands for a number, any number, followed by a comma, followed by 3 numbers, giving space for a paren, and then it says red would be for any negative numbers. If we wanted to format a zero set differently than these, we just type in a semicolon and put what we want in there. We've broken this into 3 areas rather than 2. We want this format to be used in all of these, so we're going to use our trick of format pasting here and here. If we do this, what we do is we ended up erasing our underlines about our formats. But let's go ahead and do that, and then we can fix the underlines or the borders afterwards. So let's just make all this whole row all the same. Now we can go back in and click the borders that we want. So here we have a top and bottom border right there. Top and bottom border, we can just click. This is the bottom border only. And this is the top and bottom. So we're back to where we were. So now, what does this tell us? This budget now tells us that we were over in Mom's job, $30 under in interest income, and so on. And we ended up having only $15 to put in the slush fund. So we are $110 under what we had budgeted for. I'm going to stop here since this video is getting longer than I wanted, and I promised these chapters would be bite-sized. Well, this chapter has turned into a pretty big bite. In chapter 3, we will continue developing this home budget and explore some more features in Excel. You will learn more about getting your spreadsheet print ready, as well as making it look nicer on screen. Some of the other features I plan to show you is how easily you can make some nice charts and graphs from your data. Thank you for spending your valuable time watching this. As always, I welcome your comments. Please consider hitting the like and subscribe button, as it will help my channel immensely. And let me know if there's any particular thing you'd like to learn in future videos. I will try to post chapter 3 within this next week. After it's posted, you should be able to click over here to go to it. Cheers. See you next time.